Hi, this is Randall with Carter Hill Honeybees. Today is Monday, April the 26th, 2021. A couple weeks ago, someone asked me to talk further about my interest reducer opening. So today I'm going to take a couple minutes to cover that. This bottom board is a design that it's my own personal design. I don't know if there's any more like it out there. It's a screen bottom board. I kind of explain my thought process behind this entire bottom board setup. Now, I do want to say I'm in the process, or I'm about to convert this summer or over the fall. I want to convert to solid bottom boards. I currently have them covered up underneath with a corrugated cardboard, but I'm going to get away from screen bottom boards. But like I say, I want to go ahead and explain my thought process behind this bottom board design. The height of the bottom board was my idea to try to build a little bit more space underneath. My hopes with that was to cut down light a little bit, cut down the draftiness a little bit, and I think it did help a little bit. Also, the first bottom boards I got was made out of 2x4s, and I wanted something a lot lighter, and this was a lot lighter and just as strong. Now, the issues I was having with this, now I've kind of cut back on the size of the landing platform here, but I was having issues with some of them rotting the first 2 or 3 years. These are made out of white pine, so I've tried some different things, and I got another design that I'll show here in a few minutes that I think was going to take care of a lot of the rotting issue I was having. But I'd come up with that before I decided to go to the solid bottom board, so I wound up selling those bottom boards. But on the interest reducer though, I choose to permanently attach my interest reducer to the bottom board when I'm working the colonies. When I'm working the colonies, I have to remove the high body off the bottom board. To me, it's just aggravating. It seems like more times than not the interest reducer would stick to the high body, and it makes it's just another step added to have to deal with it out there. So that, in combination with some information I learned from Dr. Tom Seeley's book, Honeybee Democracy, where he trial and errored and found out the ideal opening that bees choose for cavity, and I tried to somewhat mimic that. So I have a 1-inch auger hole in my high bodies, and this is a 3/8 by 6-inch hole entrance in the interest reducer, and I homemade every one of these interest reducers on my table saw, one by one, and then I glue and staple them down. But in combination, both of these holes provide a little over 5 1/4 square inches of opening. And in Dr. Seeley's book, if I remember correctly, it was around 3.5 square inches total of opening that the bees find to be ideal. And my thought process behind that is I wanted to find a balance from where the bees have the freedom to come and go without too much struggle, and also I wanted to optimize that opening to where the bees could come and go freely, but also minimize the amount of guard bees it took to guard that entrance. And that's kind of my goal with these two openings there. So if you have less bees guarding, that's more bees that's foraging, and it may or may not make much difference, but that's my thought process behind the design of this bottom board. Also, if you catch swarms with bottom boards, anywhere there's an opening underneath, it just seems like the bees find their way under the bottom board and gather up on the screen underneath. So with this extra height here, it's definitely important to have this front board here or some way to cut it off all the way around where the bees can't get under there, because it just seems like they really love to get up under there and bypass the opening. And whenever I do transition to solid bottom boards, that'll solve that issue as well. Or once again, this is my design. This is a 3/8 by 6-inch opening, and then a 1-inch auger hole. I wanted to create more of a dead space underneath here, try to cut down the draftiness and the light. And so that was kind of my goal behind the design of this bottom board. It does work pretty good, other than some of them don't last long. More than probably about 3 years. The worst ones I made lasted about that long. But overall, I was pleased with the performance, and I really like having my interest reducers permanently attached to the bottom board. Well, anyway, here in a few minutes, we'll take a look at one of these newer design bottom boards I've got. So here's one of the new design screen bottom boards that I made that I never got to actually try. although the gentleman I sold these to has got a few on his hive currently, and I'll show you some of them at the conclusion of this video. But the thought behind this was I wanted to make the front part easier to deal with by eliminating the entrance reducer, and I done that by incorporating it into the front piece altogether. And then I cut this little strip of wood here at about a 7-degree angle to allow water to tread off of it like that. And also I got a 3/4 inch space around here. If I did want to close it up or whatever, it's easy to put down like a 1/4 inch piece of plywood in here and convert it to a solid bottom board with relatively little trouble. This is made out of the cypress wood. One of the goals I had with this was to try to alleviate the rotting issue I was having up here, and I felt like it was due to all the staple gun holes here, so I took special care in the design of it. For instance, like attaching this board, I've done all the screwing and staple shoot from the inside, so everything in here is glued and shot from the inside except for the 4 outside corners, and I took care and wood puttied those up, and all that's left to do is to paint them. So I'll be checking with him over the years to see how these last, but I feel like this design will last longer than my original design, because only on the corners is there places for water to intrude. So that's basically the difference. And I know this front looks a little funny, but I've been out here looking at his a few minutes ago, and it looks like the bees certainly don't care. And it's a little bit different design, but it takes a little bit less wood to make this than it does a standard bottom board. We'll walk over here and take a look at a couple of his entrances and see what they look like. And right here is one of the new design hive bottom boards in action right here. Looks like it works really good. This is actually the first time I've got to see it in action. This is the man's strongest colony on his yard here. I can actually smell the fresh honey from right here in front of the hive. So I think it definitely works good. So the object of this video is just to kind of share my thought process on my couple of different bottom board designs. Basically just trying to tighten everything up and give a kind of a balance between what the bees have to guard and actually coming and going with least amount of resistance and ventilation. So I try to kind of optimize that both ways. So this kind of covers everything I had to think about it. But anyway, I appreciate you for joining me on this video today, and we'll see you next time.